I'm not watching Dynamite until tomorrow morning. Tonight's one of those guaranteed nights for me. It's very rare. So Valentine's Day is one of those nights. Plus, I don't want to watch Dynamite and then my wife sees you on the TV. That doesn't do anything for me. So I'll be the first one to admit I'll be watching your match tomorrow morning before Busted Open. But to you, sir, and I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that their wrestling crush is you, sir. So happy Valentine's Day.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe best thing you're not watching tonight. I would hate to interfere in the happy marriage on Valentine's Day. You know,
especially in your entrance, you're shaking those hips. I mean, I can't have that. I can't have that.
But what if he interfered inadvertently? So, Dave, what happens? You said tonight is a guaranteed night. What happens if Violetta asks you to do the Garcia dance?
The hips don't lie.
Listen,
like, can you do it for us right now?
I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not going to do it right now. I'll save it. I'll save it for tonight.
Our guest would like to see it.
You got to please the guest.
Sir, this is a radio show, not a TV show. I don't want to.
We're on Zoom. We can release the video for later, and the millions and millions of Dave LaGreca fans can watch it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
watch it in my personal time?
You know what? We'll move on. Let's get into the match that's happening. I'm sorry, I don't. Fine.
How about the next time?
Here we go.
We got.
Here we go. Yeah, do it.
Come on, get the music going. Get the music going.
All right, that's enough.
So bad.
My contacts just dried out. Oh.
Hey, you asked for it. You asked for it. Sir, you asked for it. You're the guest. I had to do it. So there you go.
Man, I think we got to loosen up those hips, buddy. You got to start doing some yoga or something like that.
Yeah, well, you know what? At 52, I'm lucky I'm even able to get out of the chair. But all right. Number one contenders match, big match, great setup. You and Adam Copeland. Talk about this matchup, but just talk about stepping into the ring with someone like Adam Copeland.
Man, he's a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. He's a tall dude. In more ways than one, you know, he's somebody who I never imagined, just because the way his career went, my youngness compared with his age, I never thought he would ever be on a bucket list thing for me to wrestle ever. There are some people who I thought would be hard for me to achieve to be able to wrestle, but there are people who I never even considered. And Adam Copeland is one of those people that I never even considered I was ever going to step in the ring with. But, by the grace of God, by the grace of modern science, he's able to wrestle again. And I get to step in the ring with him and test my mettle against one of the greatest of all time.
Nervous at all?
I'd be lying if I was to say that I wasn't nervous. I think stepping in the ring at all in big main event moments, I feel like I'm always nervous, whether it's against Wheeler Yuta, whether it's against somebody that I've known for years, or whether it's against a legend. Being able to prove yourself in front of that many people on that big of a stage is always a little bit nerve-wracking. But I don't feel as nervous, any more nervous than I would against anybody else. I know it's a big moment, but I know that I always rise for the big moments, and this is another big one I'm going to rise for tonight.
I mean, I would agree. We've pretty much watched your career grow up on television. You have been very, very blessed, but you really do step up when you are in that main event picture. Would you say tonight, and you've already listed some, but I mean, I've watched you and like, man, I didn't think this kid could hang, and then he blows all my expectations. Would you say tonight is the biggest match you ever had, or is there someone else where, you were like that at that moment was the biggest?
Man, I've had some big ones in the moment. Main eventing with Mox at the first show in LA at the Forum was pretty big. Main eventing with Mox at the Rampage where CM Punk debuted was a big deal. My little match series I had with Brian, each one of those felt bigger and bigger and bigger. But this one, I think because of the implications that the match has, it's a number one contenders match for a title at AEW. And also, it's matching up with this kind of rise that I'm on, where now I feel like before people didn't really expect much out of me. Like you said, I was in a position where I could shock people. Now I'm in a position where people do expect a certain level of not greatness, but a certain level of match quality and a certain level of there's a standard to my wrestling now. And I feel like people have expectations. Now I feel like I kind of have to meet those expectations. I'm not somebody who's going to shock people anymore. People know what they're going to get. So now I got to try to set the bar higher than what they think they're going to get, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And you talked about your expectations as a wrestler, but ever since you incorporated, your dance into your, your shtick, your routine, do you think there's also a certain level of entertainment that the fans come to expect from you?
Definitely. I think, watching Daniel Garcia wrestle, I think it's an all immersive experience. I think you're going to get everything that you want. You're going to get a little bit of funny. You're going to get some serious stuff. You're going to get basically everything that you could ask for out of a genre of professional wrestling, out of sports entertainment. So I feel like there definitely is a level of entertainment that people think they're going to get when they watch it.
I feel, did you learn that being in the Jericho group? Because to kind of like how to stand out, because we were discussing that earlier about wrestlers standing out, because you did. You knew what you could do wrestling wise, but you've stood out as simple as, and how did that come about, the whole dance thing? But did you learn that through hanging out in that group? Because those are some heavy characters.
Yeah, I think everybody just wants to be a good wrestler. I feel like I'm a good wrestler, but not a problem. It's a great thing about AEW and professional wrestling now is that everybody's a great wrestler. Everybody can do really cool things. Everybody can put on very entertaining matches. And especially when you're in one group with, a lot of people, and those people happen to be former world champions and people who are super entertaining, like 2.0, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, and then beautiful women like Anna Jay and Tay Conti, and somebody who does crazy flips like Sammy Guevara. When you're in a group with those people, you kind of have to do something to stand out. And, nobody ever came to me and told me like, hey, you should start dancing. It's just kind of something that naturally came about. Like all great things in wrestling seem to come from just like little inside jokes that you end up doing on TV and they end up catching on. And I think being with those guys, the greatest gift Dave gave me was the confidence to try. Like I said, they didn't tell me, hey, you should start dancing. But I saw them doing kind of outlandish things and things that I would be scared to try myself in front of a million people on national television and thousands of people in an arena. And I thought, you know what? If they're not scared to fail, I shouldn't be scared to fail either. Let me step out of the box, out of my comfort zone, and let's see what comes from it.
Daniel, what does it feel like for you? And you've had some great matches, and I want to actually go over a couple of them, especially ones that you've had recently. But how does it feel for you to just be in the main event? With your career in AEW, you're going up against a legend in Adam Copeland, but you're also in the main event of the show. How does that feel for you?
To me, it feels great. I told Tony, I said it in a press conference in front of everybody at the World's End pay-per-view, last pay-per-view of the year. That was my first pay-per-view match in months at AEW. And before the Continental Classic, like I said, I wasn't getting a ton of opportunity. I was kind of stuck in a little bit of a limbo period. And I told Tony at that press conference, I want to be somebody that he can build around, and I want to be somebody that can be invested in as a main feature and a main act on the show. And I feel like that's what I've been able to do over the past couple of months. I've showed that I am somebody that people can invest into and invest their time and their emotions into. And I feel like whenever I'm in the main event, it feels like a mini culmination of that investment.
Daniel, spending time with Chris Jericho, I'm sure you've learned a lot of things. But is there any one thing that particularly sticks out to you that's at the forefront of your mind every night you go out there?
Yeah, like I said earlier, everybody remembers Jericho for the great things that he has gotten to stick, like catchphrases, poses, innovating new moves. And I feel like I said, he never told me, hey, you should do this, you should do that. He's someone who lets you figure it out on your own. And I'm very grateful for that. I feel like at first I kind of wanted him to take me by the hand and tell me to do this or that. But the more I was with him, the more I figured out things by myself. And like I said, he gave me the confidence to want to try new things, because for all the things that Jericho has done and has stuck on, there's just as many, if not more, that he's tried and maybe was like a little bit of a flop. And, but he still keeps trying and trying and trying. And I feel like if Chris Jericho can put himself out there and step out of his comfort zone in something not come to his full visualization of what he thought it was going to be, who am I to not step out of my comfort zone and try something? And if it flops, it flops. But if it's great, it's great. That's the biggest thing he taught me.
Was the dancing outside of your comfort zone?
Outside of my comfort zone from a character standpoint on a wrestling television show. Out of my comfort zone for real life, no, not really.
Okay.
If I could just correct you for a second, you're not a great professional wrestler. You're an excellent professional wrestler. And when I say that, it's because of all the other things you've encompassed. I believe I first saw you on Indies, and then again, I grew up watching you on television like our entire audience, but like all the things you're incorporating, even in listening to your interview, you are a great spokesperson for AEW. And I get it. You're hungry, but you made me during your matches feel for you, because I've seen millions of wrestlers out there, but I was just like, and you heard it from the audience when they wanted you to respond to them. Sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't, like shaking Daniel Bryan's hand. That was a big thing. I'm sorry, Bryan Danielson shaking his hand. They just wanted it, but that's what you do in telling those stories with your matches. So again, it's also the quality of competition that makes us all better. And you really, really have stepped up. The other part of this is you said about Edge being a bucket list. Do you have bucket list wrestlers that you still want to face?
Man, I feel like I've knocked out pretty much everybody at AEW that I would like to wrestle. There's some rumors of Okada and Ospreay coming in. I would love to step in the ring against them. I feel like I've had a lot of very good American style TV and pay-per-view matches, but I feel like I would like to feel what one of those like Tokyo Dome main event matches feel like. I just want to see how I will respond in a situation like that. Maybe when you're like 25 minutes into a match, you're exhausted, and Okada is still holding you by the wrist and trying to take your head off with a Rainmaker. I want to see how I would respond in a situation like that.
That's amazing. And, Tommy mentioned shaking. How many requests do you get from people about you doing your dance? I mean, because I know, I can only imagine Thunder Rosa probably every time she sees you ask you to shake your hips, right?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of like a funny story. Like if you guys are familiar with the New Japan, like Young Lion system, they strip new wrestlers down to the bare bones. They make them wear very plain gear. They make them do very plain moveset. So you have to get over on your wrestling. And when I first started wrestling, I kind of stripped myself down to a bare bones version of a wrestler. I wore very plain gear. I did very basic moves because I knew it would make people have to invest in me as a person and not just care about the moves that I did. And the farther my career went in AEW, the more I started to step outside of that. I started wearing the leather pants. I started doing the dance. But when I was doing kind of like the very basic things, people would always come up to me, and the first thing that people would say to me was, oh, you're such a good wrestler. I love your wrestling. And I think that's because I'm not like a very like physically commanding person. I'm not very big. I have like a very basic haircut. I have like a plain looking face. So the first thing that people would notice about me in ring was the wrestling. Now I never get that anymore. It's never, oh, you're such a good wrestler. Now it's, oh, yo, I love that dance. You do the dance for me, da da da. Which, sometimes I feel like it can be a little hit to your pride. You kind of feel like a one-hit wonder a little bit. But I know it's part of the game. I know I'm a good wrestler, and I know that the dance is just a very good complementary piece to it. It's like a little crouton in a salad.
Daniel, one of the things that I always like to speak with fellow wrestlers about is where they feel that they can improve. I love people who are introspective, who can look themselves in the mirror and go, okay, here's where you need to get better. Short term, where do you want to improve? Is it on the microphone? Is it the way you conduct yourself backstage? Is it with your in-ring ability? Where can Daniel Garcia improve overnight?
Man, I think a couple of the biggest things I have to work on is one, I know I'm skinny. not skinny. I know I'm not in good wrestler shape, like huge.
Are you talking about a cosmetic thing? Like it's a cosmetic business, you should have a certain look? Okay.
Yes, I know I'm in good shape. I could go wrestle for 2 hours and be fine. I know I'm not jacked. And not that I want to be Hulk Hogan or anything, but I would like to get in a little bit better shape for TV purposes. I started working with Cesar Bonani this new year. He works with a lot of people at AEW. He's a very good personal trainer and nutritionist. So I feel like that's one thing I like to work on. And when I got to AEW, I really worked hard on backstage promos and sit-down interviews. That was something that I really worked on. And now the more that I do in-ring promos, I realize that that's a lot different from sit-down interviews. And you have to kind of adapt your game between those two things. So I would like to get more opportunities to do live promos in-ring, because that's something I would like to work on as well.
Speaking of in the ring, when you look at the opponents that you've had in AEW, so different, like a variety of different wrestlers. You talk about going up against an Adam Copeland tonight, but the last match you had on Collision with Shane Taylor. How difficult is it to on a weekly basis go up against somebody that's so different in not only style but size?
Honestly, it doesn't feel that different, but I think that's because of my wrestling style. I picked and chose my wrestling style to be able to adapt to different sizes and experience levels. And so basically, I feel like I could wrestle anybody on any given night. That's definitely by design. So I could wrestle Shane Taylor on Saturday, then Adam Copeland on Wednesday, and then Lee Moriarty on Friday. I feel like my style is very adaptive, and that's definitely by design.
You have a favorite match so far?
Ooh, the one with Mox at the Forum holds a special place in my heart. It was just like a hot, like hard, gritty match, and the energy in that building was insane. It felt like I was fighting in a coliseum in front of gladiators and lions. That match is definitely special to me.
You seem to have a good chemistry with everybody that you work with. I'm not asking you to name names, but is there anybody that you didn't have chemistry with in the ring?
Yeah, I think there are people I haven't had chemistry with, and I think that's back in the day when you would wrestle people every single night and you develop chemistry. And now in the business, because we don't have house shows and we only have TV shows, a lot of the times you're wrestling these people and touching them, it's for the first time ever on TV. Nobody, like everybody always says, "Oh, I want to see this first time ever match." I promise you really don't want to see a first time ever match. You want to see these people after they've wrestled 100 times on the road and figure out each other's timing and figure out what works best for them. That's when you want to see two people wrestle. But a lot of the time that's not possible just due to scheduling. So tonight I'll be touching Adam for the first time ever, and let's see how our chemistry is. Part of me likes that pressure. It's live. It's our first time ever locking up. Like, you don't know what you're going to get, and that kind of gets me excited.
It truly is the art of working, which is a dying art form.
Yeah.
Not a question, but just a statement to back up what you were saying.
Well, Daniel, I'm looking forward to tonight. The number one contendership for the TNT title held by Christian Cage, you and Adam Copeland in the main event on AEW Dynamite on TBS. And you've been killing it on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision on Saturday nights. And, man, have a great night. Good luck to you. And thank you so much for giving us the time on game day. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Don't let your girl see me doing the dance, though. Not today. Not today.
Well, listen, whatever gets it done, Daniel, I'm at the time. You know what I'm saying? 52 years old. It's one of the few guaranteed nights I have from the year. So whatever gets it done, that's what's going to happen, Daniel. So
yes,
if you're a part of a small part of that to help make that happen, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now it's gotten weird.